and it's not happening too much among any other church. Right around St. Louis here, how many people in these 40 or 50 Pentecostal churches in St. Louis, how many people has received the Holy Ghost in these 40 or 50 churches in the last 5 years? I doubt if they'd make a good-sized assembly. If you go gather them all up, I doubt if you could get enough people that's got the Holy Ghost here in the last 10 years to even make a nice-sized assembly. And so you see, there's another work going on here now. The Lord is getting ready to make a move here and bring an end to this. And He's settled a class of Pentecostal people down. He's settled us down now. And like it was the last 6 months that Jesus was preaching in this world, He was not preaching to multitudes. He didn't have big crowds in front of Him. He was stealing off on the mountainside and down by the lakeside and was teaching His apostles. And when the multitude would come around, He just gave them a few parables. But He was gathering His people together and settling them down. And then the 40 days and nights that He spent with them. You talk about, the people would call that a revival these days. But Jesus Christ spent the last 40 days and nights teaching His disciples what? Teaching them what? How to be evangelists? How to go out and be missionaries? No. He was talking to them to things pertaining to the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. That's what He was doing with them and settling them down. And then when He got them condensed and the crowds wasn't around anymore, and He got that little faithful 108 people together and got them fixed, then He sent them to the upper room and filled them with the Holy Ghost. And then their work began to spread. Jesus had finished His work, but their work is just starting here. And He let them have the next 40 years then in going out among the Jewish people. Before that 40 years is up, they had reaped the Jewish world. They had gone into these Jewish ghettos where the Jews live, like over here at University City. There's more Jews live right there in University City than all the rest of the city of St. Louis put together. There's a colony of them over there. And then we have other people that's in different sections of these big cities. And the Jews have their section where they live. And then here's the Italians, they'll have a section. The Germans will have a section. And you might find a few Germans scattered over St. Louis, but there are certain places here in St. Louis where they live next door to each other for block after block. And it's sort of a ghetto with them. You go out here in northwest St. Louis, and there's the Italian people out there. Not speaking derogatory, but it's known all over St. Louis. They call it Dago Hill over there because the Italians all live over there, and they call them Dago, so that's Dago Hill over there. And they live next door to one another, block after block. But you'll find Italians all over the city, but you'll find them concentrated over there around Northwest Boulevard and in there. And then, of course, there's other places where different nationalities and colors and different social level people live, and then where the big shots live, where the rich people live. And you don't look for them down on the riverbank. You don't find them over here on Del Mar and Franklin and those streets over there. But you go farther out west in the city, keep going west and southwest. And here they buy big estates right here behind this church here. His houses that cost as high as $800,000. I believe there's one over here cost over $1 million right behind this church here. When you drive around down 21 here and turn off down there and come back around behind this church here, right back of us here, our church, our house after house that you couldn't touch for $100,000 to $200,000. Well, you don't find that down on St. Louis Avenue. You don't find that over here where the Italians live or where a little colony of Germans are. So you see, it's that way all over the world. All the cities of the world are like that. And when it comes to the church now, it was a colony of Jewish people. Just think of it. Jesus Christ never had one Gentile following Him. Not a one. And 120 in the upper room, all of them were Jewish people. The 3,000 got the Holy Ghost on the day of Pentecost were all Jews. Every one of them was Jews. And for about 7 years after that, there was nothing but Jews that got into the church. And it wasn't because they couldn't come in. They couldn't come in until after A.D. 33. You want to keep that in mind. There was no Gentile could get in the church from the time Christ started His ministry until A.D. 33. When they were cut off nationally in A.D. 33, then the Gentiles could come in, but they were slow about coming in. There wasn't anybody preaching to them. And Peter reluctantly went over to the household of the Italian man there that was over the garrison of the city. He was invited over there, and he went. And when he got back to Jerusalem, why, of course, there's people that thought Simon Peter, being a leader of the church and one of the outstanding men of the church, to think that he'd go among the Gentiles. It shocked some of those Jews. They said, what in the world's happening here? Our chief apostle has gone over to these crummy Gentiles, these dogs over here, and preached to them, laid his hands on them, baptized them in water. What do you think of that? Those Jews are saying that with the thousands. And then Peter, even the preachers took him to task over and said, hey, what was you doing over there? Don't you know salvation's to the Jew and of the Jew? What are you doing among those Gentiles? Then Peter told him about his vision that he saw. The great big bed sheet tied at four corners, let down in front of him, full of reptiles and snakes and birds and everything else in there. And a voice said to him, Peter, rise up and help yourself. Kill and eat. If you want a rattlesnake, there's one. If you want a cat, you can kill that cat. If you want a pig, there's one. And whatever you want. There's an elephant. If you want to eat him, go ahead. And so Peter, being a Jew, he never ate anything like that in all of his life. Jews didn't eat those things at all. And so Peter said, not so. Nothing unclean has entered my body here. I'm a Jew. I'm told here in the 11th chapter of Leviticus the kind of foods and meats that I can eat. And so he reasoned that in his mind, and the sheet disappeared. And all at once, it came back again. And there was full of all those different varmints in there. And the voice said to him again, kill and eat. And he said, not so. And it did it 3 times. And third time, there was a knock on his door. All the time, he was in a trance. He fell over into a trance. He laid down on the bed wide awake. He fell asleep and then went into a trance, a Holy Ghost trance, and saw this vision before him. And then here came a knock at the door and it woke him up. And they said, there's a man downstairs has come to see you here. And so Peter got up and went down to see what he wanted. And he told him what he wanted, that an Italian over a band of soldiers that was over the occupation army of Jerusalem, he was sent his servant over there because Cornelius had seen an angel and told him, said, now, you send somebody over here to where Simon Peter is. He's over there with a tanner, living in a tanner's house with this tanner, and you'll find him there, and he will tell you words whereby you and all of your house can be saved. So Cornelius doubted nothing. He sent his servant and said, go over there and find that guy. Don't stop till you find where he is. And when they found the house where Peter was sleeping, he had come right out of that trance. And then he said, when he saw that, he said, an angel appeared to my master and told me to come over here. Well, Peter gathered up 6 other Jews with him to have plenty of witnesses. He took 6 Jews with him, and away they went to the household of Cornelius. And when he got there, there was several people. I would imagine at least 300 people, possibly. Soldiers, and their wives, just like if you go to Germany. See, we've got brother and sister, what is their names here that's in Germany? Somebody tell me, Brother Hanson, what's their names that went to Germany here? Huh? Brother and his wife. They're coming back in November. They're coming back to the States to stay. Well, they've been living over there with several thousand of Americans there in that army base. And he's serving out his time, and he's going to get out and come back here. So we'll welcome them home when they come back home. And they've been over there, and they've lived for the Lord, and we stayed in touch with them somewhat. And now they're going to be released. Well, that's the way it was. The Italians, Italy, and the Roman Empire, Italy being the state there, had occupied the land of Palestine. And when they occupied it, well, they built army bases in there and put these men from Rome over these army bases. And, of course, here was Cornelius. He was over one of those bases of Italian soldiers. And they had their wives and family with them. Well, he gathered them all together and told them he'd seen an angel and what was happening. So by the time they got there, he gathered them possibly in the mess hall over there or some building, got them all together, and they were sitting there waiting for Simon Peter to come to them. And just waiting, abiding the time. All at once, while that crowd was sitting there, about this size crowd, there were soldiers all in there, and their wives and family along with them. And in walked Simon Peter with 6 Jews.